It began without warning. A strange signal appeared in Earth's skies. At first, people thought it was just another satellite. But this one didn't move, it hovered, still and silent, above the planet just outside the atmosphere. Governments reacted fast. Telescopes turned toward the object. Satellites zoomed in. What they saw wasn't from Earth. It was black metal, sharp-edged, and shaped like a blade. Some said it looked like a spaceship, others said it looked like a weapon. Then the message came. It was broadcast in every language, across every device. TVs, phones, computers, all screens turned black. Then a voice spoke, cold, deep, unfamiliar. "This is the Galactic Empire. You are now under observation. Surrender your planet, or be eliminated." Panic spread like wildfire. News anchors froze on live television. Families gathered in silence. Children clung to their parents. World leaders held emergency meetings, but no one knew what to do. No one had ever faced something like this. In a hidden bunker deep under the mountains, military commanders stared at radar screens. The object hadn't moved, no weapons had been fired, but the message repeated every hour. Surrender or be eliminated. In New York, people gathered in Times Square, watching the alien ship on giant screens. In Tokyo, students wore masks and whispered in fear. In small villages, old farmers looked up at the sky and muttered prayers. All over the world, people waited, watched, wondered. Why Earth? Why now? A week passed. The ship stayed silent. No attacks, no answers, just the message. Then, something changed. Another ship appeared. This one was smaller, sleeker. It broke through Earth's atmosphere like a falling star, glowing with blue fire. It didn't crash. It landed with perfect control in the middle of a ruined city once torn by war. Drones captured it live. The world watched. The ship opened. From inside, soldiers marched out. They wore dark armor, with glowing lines running across their bodies. Their faces were hidden behind black masks. Their steps were quiet, but sharp like machines trained for one purpose: war. The people of Earth expected destruction, explosions, death, but nothing happened. The Empire soldiers walked through the city streets, scanning everything. Broken buildings, empty roads, dead silence. There were no humans in sight, no resistance, no police, no armies. One soldier looked around and spoke through his helmet. "Where's everyone?" He received no answer. Back on their ship, scanners beeped. No life signs nearby, no tech signals. The place was dead, but something was wrong. One soldier spotted a small drone hovering in the distance. It was quiet. It blinked once, then vanished behind a wall. The soldier followed it, round the corner. He found a child's toy, ticking. Too late. The explosion hit hard. Dust, fire, and metal filled the air. One soldier was down. The others raised weapons, ready to fight, but there was no enemy to see, just shadows. Another blast hit from the rooftop. A building collapsed. Empire troops tried to regroup, but the streets were now full of smoke and chaos. From the mist came fast-moving shapes, quick to target. A voice rang out over a hidden speaker, calm but full of warning. "You came to conquer, but this is Earth. We don't roll over, we fight." Back, the Empire soldiers fired in all directions, but they were blind. The attackers vanished as fast as they came. Each step they took forward led to more traps, explosives, fire, drones with sharp blades. This wasn't a battle. This was a trap. The Galactic Empire had come expecting an easy victory. A weak planet, soft people. What they found was something else. Humanity had been watching too, studying, preparing, in the silence of fear. They had moved underground, built new weapons, designed new tactics, hidden their people, planned every detail. This wasn't surrender. This was war. And Earth had just made its first move. The Empire's commander on the ground realized it too late. He looked around at his broken squad, surrounded by smoke and wreckage. His mask cracked, his voice shook. "They knew we were coming." Far above Earth, in the main Empire ship, alien generals stared at the screen. Data poured in, soldiers lost, systems hacked, weapons jammed. They turned to each other. One of them whispered, "We underestimated them." Back on Earth, hidden in a basement lined with wires and screens. A small group of human hackers smiled. A young woman leaned back in her chair, watching the chaos on her monitor. "They sent their best," she said, "and we just got started." Outside, the sky was still. The Empire's ship floated silently, watching, waiting. But Earth was no longer waiting. Earth was fighting, and the war had just begun. The city was on fire. Empire soldiers moved through the ruins slowly now. Their black armor was scratched. Their formations were broken. They looked less like an army, and more like a team trying to survive. Hours earlier, they had landed with pride. Now, they walked with caution. The air was filled with smoke, but also with sound-distant echoes of footsteps, soft beeping from hidden devices, and sharp cracks of metal hitting metal. Earth wasn't silent anymore. A captain stopped near a wrecked vehicle. He raised his arm, scanning for signs of life. The device beeped once, then went dead. Another jammed signal. He muttered, "They're scrambling our tech." One of his soldiers, younger and less experienced, looked around nervously. "Where are they?" The captain didn't answer, because he didn't know. Every block they moved forward, something new went wrong. Their long-range comms were out. Their maps were unreliable. Their drones vanished without trace, and the buildings, most of them, looked abandoned but not empty. Earth had become a trap. A sudden crack rang out. A steel wire snapped from above, and a soldier was pulled into the air. Before anyone could react, a drone flew past, dropping a tiny round object. It clicked once, then exploded, releasing thick black smoke. The squad scattered. The Empire wasn't fighting an army. They were fighting shadows on a nearby rooftop. Two humans watched through thermal scopes. Both wore simple gear, nothing fancy. One had a long sniper rifle. The other typed quickly into a small device strapped to her arm. "They're scared," she said. "They're starting to break." The sniper grinned. "Good. Let's keep pushing." From hidden bunkers and underground tunnels, small teams of human fighters struck fast and disappeared. They didn't use traditional weapons. Most used tech built from stolen parts, modified EMPs, hacked drones, homemade mines. They couldn't match the Empire in power. So they didn't try. Instead, they outsmarted them. In one tunnel, a human commander stood in front of a map lit by red lines. He pointed to different locations. "They're trying to regroup near Sector 9. Set up jammers here, here, and here. Block their path. Force them through the alley. We'll hit them with fire drones on both sides." A soldier nodded. "What if they bring in air support?" "They won't. Their eyes in the sky are blind." Across the world, humans used satellites, weather balloons, and coded signals to confuse the Empire's systems. Every move the invaders made was tracked. Every weakness was tested. This wasn't Earth's first war, but it was the first war fought in silence. Shadows and circuits. In space, aboard the Empire's main ship, the High Command tried to understand what was happening. One of the generals paced across the control deck. "We sent our best," he growled. "Why aren't they reporting back?" A technician replied, voice nervous. "The planet's surface is hostile, not in climate, but in strategy. The humans, they're not primitive." The general turned sharply. "They're farmers and tribesmen. They still use bullets." The technician shook his head. "Not anymore." He pulled up a feed footage plate of a human drone slicing through Empire armor. Another clip showed a hacked robot walking straight into a squad and exploding. "They adapt fast to fast." The general clenched his jaw. "Send reinforcements." But someone else spoke first. A scientist, quiet until now, stepped forward. She held a small screen in her hand. "We should have listened," she said. "This species, they're dangerous." The general turned. "Because they fight dirty." She shook her head. "Because they learn." Back on Earth, a captured Empire scout was dragged into a secure room. His helmet was cracked, his breathing shaky. Across from him sat a human interrogator, calm, quiet, staring. "Why us?" the human asked. "Why Earth?" The alien didn't answer at first. Then, slowly, he spoke. "Your biology. It's unstable, adaptive, unpredictable. You're not like the others." "What others?" "Species we conquered. They gave up. You multiply under pressure. You create in chaos. That makes you a threat." The interrogator leaned in. You think you've seen us fight? The alien looked up. I think we made a mistake. In another part of the city, Empire soldiers regrouped in a broken plaza. They had managed to set up a small base, barriers, scanners, defense units, but one screen lit up. A signal had broken through. A human face appeared masked, voice distorted, eyes calm. You wanted to see what Earth could do, the voice said. This is just the beginning. Before they could trace the signal, it vanished, and so did their power. The lights went out, the scanners failed, the air grew quiet again. Then, from the shadows, came the sound of footsteps. Many. Close. And very, very human. The screams had stopped. In what used to be a proud Empire command post, silence now filled the air. The black steel walls were cracked. Sparks jumped from broken wires. A trail of blood led down a hallway, smeared across the floor. Outside, smoke curled into the sky like a warning. Only a few Empire soldiers were left inside. Their armor was scratched. Their weapons were low on charge. They didn't speak. They barely moved. They had seen too much, and they had lost too many. The humans didn't fight like any enemy the Empire had faced before. They didn't march in straight lines or follow orders like machines. They moved like ghosts, quick, unpredictable, and brutal. One moment there was silence. The next, an entire squad was gone. The Empire had come to Earth expecting fear. What they got was pain. In a destroyed market just outside the city, a human team crouched behind rubble. Their leader, a woman with a scar over her eye, checked the hacked tablet on her wrist. They're pulling back, she said, probably regrouping. A younger fighter laughed. They're running scared. They're not scared, she replied. They're angry, and angry makes them dangerous. Behind her, another human placed a captured Empire rifle into a small black box. He hit a few keys. The weapons inside glowed blue, then shifted, as if the tech was rewriting itself. Done, he said. Empire rifle, human brain. Let's see how they like it. This was the humans' real strength, not just fighting, but learning. Every piece of gear they captured was studied, broken apart, rebuilt. Every encounter taught them something new. The more the Empire attacked, the smarter Earth became. Underground, in a lab powered by car batteries and stolen solar panels, a team of scientists worked in silence. One of them was a teenager, a genius with machines, his fingers moving fast over a keyboard. They use organic AI, he muttered. It learns from battle, but we learn faster. Next to him, a man in an old army jacket nodded. Can we turn it against them? The teen smiled. We already did. At that moment, across the battlefield, several Empire drones suddenly turned mid-flight. Their sensors blinked red, then blue. They dropped their original targets and spun around. Then they opened fire on their own troops. In the chaos that followed, a group of human fighters slipped through enemy lines. They wore mismatched gear, spoke in hand signals, and moved with purpose. At the center of their group was a Targetan Empire scientist they had captured 2 nights earlier. The scientist limped, hands tied, eyes wide with fear. You don't understand, he whispered. You're all wrong. This isn't just about Earth. No one answered. I was ordered to study you. He continued. Your DNA, your minds, you shouldn't even exist. Still, silence. They fear you. He said louder. You humans, you're not normal. You grow under pressure. You change too fast. You're not supposed to survive this kind of war, but you're doing it. The leader of the group, a quiet man with tired eyes, finally looked at him. You came here to end us, he said. Instead, you gave us a reason to evolve. Back in orbit, the Empire fleet was no longer calm. Alarms echoed through the flagship. Generals argued over data. Officers shouted reports. Screens flashed with red warnings. Human hacks were spreading fast. Systems once locked by Empire encryption were now wide open. Earth's fighters had broken into enemy communication lines. They were listening, watching, sending false orders. In one control room, an officer yelled, "Our own ships are turning against us." The High General stood still, watching the chaos. Enough, he said. He turned to a younger commander. Send the juggernauts. The younger man hesitated. But do it. Moments later, new ships dropped from orbit. Bigger, stronger. covered in armor thick enough to crush a tank. These were the Empire's heavy soldiers. Machines mixed with flesh, built for destruction. They landed hard. Earth shook. In one city, people looked up and saw the sky darken as the massive forms walked forward. This wasn't a mission anymore. This was punishment. But even now, Earth didn't give up. As the juggernauts moved, bombs planted under streets exploded. Bridges collapsed behind them. Water lines burst, flooding areas to slow their steps. Humans used every inch of their land like a weapon. They didn't run. They made the enemy bleed for every step. Back at a ruined radio tower, a group of human soldiers watched the new threat through binoculars. "We're not ready for this," one said. The commander took a breath. "Then we do what humans always do." "What's that?" He looked through the smoke-filled air. "We adapt." And once again, Earth prepared to rise. The sky burned red over what used to be a city. The Empire's juggernauts had turned entire neighborhoods into rubble. Each step they took crushed roads, tore through walls, and scattered human forces. Their armor was thick, their weapons brutal, but still, they were slow, and the humans noticed. In a hidden valley outside the city, human engineers worked through the night. Their camp was made from scrap, tents, and solar-powered machines. They didn't wear uniforms. Most looked like mechanics. One of them, a tall woman with grease on her hands, adjusted the controls on a glowing device. "All right," she said. "Let's test it." A drone, small and silent, floated into the air. It wasn't made from human parts. Its body was a blend of Empire steel and Earth plastic. It moved like a bird, fast and quiet. The woman smiled. "Let's see how your own tech feels when it's used against you." This was the new battlefield. Humans weren't just hiding anymore. They were building, adapting, changing the rules, and they weren't doing it alone. In a dark cave deep in the mountains, a human medic knelt beside a wounded creature. It was tall, thin, with purple skin and black eyes. It wasn't from Earth. It wore a broken Empire collar round its neck. It had been left behind. The medic cleaned the alien's wounds carefully. The creature flinched, confused. "Relax," the medic said softly. "I'm not your enemy." The alien looked at him with a tired expression. "You help me?" "Yes." "Why?" The medic paused. "Because the Empire doesn't get to decide who lives or dies." The alien closed its eyes. That moment was the beginning of something new. Across the planet, more aliens once loyal to the Empire began questioning orders. They had seen humans fight. They had seen humans protect their own. And they had seen something strange in them: choice. Humans weren't controlled by fear. They were driven by will. In a bunker full of screens, a young woman tapped into the Empire's internal messages. Her screen filled with alien symbols. She ran translation software. Lines of Empire code scrolled across the display. Warning: human resistance adapting faster than projected. Casualty rate unacceptable. Risk of technology loss high. Consider orbital strike options. She stared at the last line. Orbital strike. The Empire was getting desperate. She pressed a button, sending the information to every human outpost around the globe. Within minutes, teams across mountains, forests, deserts, and underground cities started to prepare. If Earth was going to survive, they had to act now. In the ruins of an old factory, a group of human fighters met with 3 former Empire soldiers. Their armor was damaged, their faces tired, but they weren't enemies now. One of them, a tall alien with fur eyes, spoke first. "We want to help." The human leader raised an eyebrow. "Why?" The alien looked around at the destroyed buildings. "We believed the Empire was peace, order, but Earth showed us something else, something we forgot." "What's that?" The alien smiled weakly. "Freedom." Together they began planning the next attack. Back in orbit, the Empire's fleet circled like vultures. Inside the command ship, high-ranking officers stared at digital maps showing human movements. "They're building," one said. "Making weapons out of scrap." The general didn't respond. "They're forming alliances," another officer added. "Even some of our own troops are switching sides." Still no answer. Finally, a new voice spoke, calm, quiet, confident. "They're doing exactly what we feared." The general turned. It was the science officer. This species wasn't supposed To win, she said. But they're not playing by the rules. They improvise. They fail, then change. Then they come back stronger. She walked to the window and looked down at Earth. We thought their chaos was weakness, but it's their greatest weapon, on the surface. The first test of the new Human Empire hybrid weapon began. The hack drone flew toward a juggernaut moving through a dead zone. The massive machine didn't notice the small buzzing sound behind it. The drone latched onto its back and injected a virus coded by a teenager in an old subway station. The juggernaut stopped mid-step. It shuddered. Then turned around and fired. On its own side. It worked. The humans cheered from their hiding spots. They had found a crack in the armor, and now they were going to break it wide open. Later that night, under a broken moon, a human commander stood beside a captured alien rebel. They looked at a growing camp below, humans and former enemies working side by side. "You think we can win this?" the alien asked. The commander didn't answer right away. "We're not just fighting to survive," he said. "We're fighting to prove that we can't be ruled." He looked up at the stars. "And if they want to destroy us, they'd better send everything they've got, because we're not stopping now." A cold wind blew across the mountain. From the highest ridge, a human scout looked through a scope. Below, a massive Empire structure pulsed with blue light. It wasn't like their other buildings. This one was taller, shielded, and surrounded by energy towers humming in the air. He tapped his comm. "I found it. They're building something big." Back at base, the message was received. A group of human leaders and rebel aliens stood around a table made from old steel sheets. A hologram of the Empire structure floated above. "That's it," said a former Empire engineer. "That's not a base. That's a launch site." "For what?" someone asked. The alien's voice dropped. "A planet killer. One shot, one target. Wipes out everything." The room went quiet. "They're going to destroy Earth," someone whispered. The human commander leaned forward. "Then we stop them. Now, across the planet, humans and rebel allies launched into action. Old war machines were pulled from storage. Weapons made from Empire tech were loaded onto trucks. Civilians joined the effort, welding armor, charging drones, packing supplies. They knew the fight was coming to a head, and they weren't going to hide anymore. In a secret underground hangar, Earth's first space fleet was being prepared. It wasn't large, only 7 ships. Each one was built from scrap, stolen Empire parts, and human engineering. They looked rough, rusted in places, but they flew, and they were ready. Inside the lead ship, a human pilot buckled in. She ran her fingers across the controls. Everything felt real to real. She looked at the crew. "No more waiting," she said. "We take the war to them." The ships launched one by one, rising into the sky like sparks. The people of Earth looked up, watching their own kind leave. The atmosphere not as explorers, but as warriors. Above the clouds, the fleet moved fast. They weren't heading for the Empire ships in orbit. They were going farther. They were heading into enemy space. Inside the lead ship, sensors began picking up signals. "Empire patrols dead ahead." The pilot smirked. "Let's make some noise." Lasers lit up the black sky. Human ships darted through fire, dodging with speed no one expected. Their small size made them harder to hit. They weren't perfect, but they were fast, and they were angry. The Empire patrol ships were caught off guard. They returned fire, but within minutes, 3 of them exploded in blue flames. Earth's fleet kept moving forward deeper into the Empire's system. Back on Earth, the ground team was ready. The mountain facility where the planet killer was being built was now surrounded. Human fighters moved through the forests like shadows. Drones scanned the outer gates. Rebel aliens moved with them, guiding them through weak points in the defenses. From the hills above, snipers locked in targets. Engineers jammed communication lines. Cyber teams shut down power grids. One by one, the outer towers blinked off. Then, the signal came. Go. Explosions rocked the base as humans stormed the outer gates. The Empire soldiers inside scrambled to respond, but they were already too late. The resistance moved fast, clearing rooms, hacking doors, setting charges. Inside the main tower, the control panel for the superweapon glowed red. A countdown had begun. 5 minutes. The human commander pushed forward. leading a strike team up the final stairwell. Empire soldiers blocked the path, but rebel allies flanked them from behind. The fight was fierce, brutal, close, but Earth's fighters didn't stop. They reached the control room just as the countdown hit 1 minute. A young hacker jumped to the console. Her hands flew across the keys. "This system's insane," she said. "It's alive. Can you shut it down?" She didn't answer. She just typed faster. Above Earth, the Empire's high command watched the battle from orbit. One officer turned in shock. "They've broken into the core facility." Another voice cut in, panicked. "And we've lost contact with Sector 8. Our patrols are gone." The general's face turned dark. "They're not defending anymore," he said. "They're attacking." Inside the weapon tower, the hacker screamed, "Done." The countdown froze for seconds. The humans sighed in relief, but then the building shook. "Backup system starting," the hacker shouted. "They've got a failsafe." The commander looked around. "How do we stop it?" A rebel alien stepped forward. "There's no code. We have to destroy it. The entire tower." The commander nodded. "Fall back. Now." They set explosives and ran. Outside, the sky turned orange as the tower exploded behind them. Fire shot into the air. The weapon Earth's death sentence was gone. The fighters fell to the ground, covered in dust and sweat. No one spoke. No one needed to. They had done it. They had stopped the end. Back in orbit, Earth's fleet broke through the last line of defense. They reached the edge of the Empire's home sector, damaged but alive. Inside the lead ship, the pilot looked out at the stars. "This is our turning point," she said. "They wanted to break us, but now they'll see what we really are." The stars were no longer safe. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They built their power on fear, control, and silence. But now, silence was broken. Human ships damaged, patched with steel, and hope had reached the Empire's doorstep. And they weren't alone. Inside the fleet's lead ship, the human pilot stared at the Empire's capital planet. Its surface shimmered with lights. Towers reached high into the clouds. Defense ships floated all around it like sharks. "Looks peaceful," one crew member said. "Not for long," she replied. Behind them, more ships joined the fleet. Rebel aliens from across the stars, former slaves, forgotten species, and outcasts had gathered under one flag. The human flag. Earth had become more than a planet. It had become a symbol. Back on the ground, Empire cities cracked with tension. Protests broke out in the streets, alien citizens demanding answers. Screens across the Empire's worlds flashed warnings. Human attacks, system failures, civil unrest. The perfect machine was breaking, and the cracks were spreading. Inside the Empire's central tower, the High General stood in front of a glowing map. Red dots, enemy signals lit up across the galaxy. "Too many, too fast. This is impossible," he said. "They were savages." An advisor stepped forward. "They're not savages. They're survivors." The general's eyes narrowed. "Then we erase them." He activated the emergency command. All warships across the galaxy received the order: defend the core at all costs. Back near the capital, Earth's fleet charged. The battle began in silence. Then the sky lit up. Laser fire burned through the dark. Empire ships fired massive plasma cannons. Human pilots dodged and weaved, slipping between death like dancers. One by one, rebel ships broke through enemy lines on the surface of the capital planet. Hidden cells of resistance rose. Explosions rocked key buildings. Communications failed. Power stations went dark. The Empire was collapsing from both sides, outside and within. In one dark room, a young Empire officer stared at a photo of his family. He had served all his life. He had believed in order, but now he wasn't sure. He looked at the message on his screen. "Defectors will be executed." He turned it off and opened the gates elsewhere. In the depths of the Empire's data core, a group of human hackers and rebel techs worked together. They had been smuggled in days ago. Now they were inside the system itself. One of them smiled. "This is it. The AI that runs their entire military." She connected a black device to the console. "We're going to set it free." The Empire's central AI wasn't just code, it was alive, thinking, and angry. But it had never been challenged. Until now, The virus entered like a whisper. Then it roared. Across the Empire, ships lost contact. Weapons shut down. Orders froze mid-command. Pilots screamed as their screens went black. Confusion turned to panic. The general watched as the map of the galaxy blinked red then vanished. "What's happening?" he shouted. "They've taken control." Someone whispered. Outside, Earth's fleet reached orbit. Drop pods launched from ships like falling stars. Human soldiers and rebels stormed through cities and towers. They weren't just fighting soldiers. They were liberating planets. Inside the throne room, the Emperor finally stood. He had not spoken in years. He had not needed to dot until now. He looked at the chaos beyond his windows, his world, his order burning. Then, the doors crashed open. A human commander walked in, dust on his face, blood on his jacket. His rifle hung by his side. Behind him stood dozens, human and alien, shoulder to shoulder. The Emperor looked at him. "You're just a man." The commander nodded. That's all it took. A long silence followed. Then the Emperor sat back down and closed his eyes. It was over. The Empire had fallen. Later, across the galaxy, people watched as the flag of the Empire was lowered. In its place, a new symbol was raised, one made of many colors, many stars. One voice spoke through every screen. "From Earth, we rose, not to conquer, but to remind the stars we all have the right to be free." In the ruins of a war room, the High General sat alone. He replayed the final battle on a small screen, over and over. He whispered to himself, "How did we lose to them?" And the answer echoed in his mind. Because they never gave up. Because they changed faster than we could crush them. Because they fought not just with weapons, but with will. Because they were human. The war was over. The Empire was gone. What remained was dust, silence, and a galaxy trying to understand what had just happened. On Earth, people stood in the streets, looking up at the stars. They had won, but not by strength alone, not by numbers, not by luck. They had won because they refused to be broken. In a rebuilt city, where old ruins met new life, children ran through alleyways, chasing drones they once feared. Soldiers returned home. Engineers pulled down warning signs and turned old bunkers into schools. Life was beginning again. But Earth was different now. So was the galaxy. Across distant planets, statues of Empire rulers were torn down. Symbols of control were replaced with colors of unity. Former slave species lit fires in the night, not for war, but for celebration. For the first time in generations, they were free, and they had Earth to thank. In a small room overlooking the Atlantic Ocean, a group of human leaders and alien allies sat at a long table. The room wasn't fancy, just wooden chairs and coffee mugs, but the decisions made there would shape the stars. "We've taken down the old system," said a human general. "Now we have to build something better." A rebel alien leaned forward. "Something that doesn't rule with fear. Something that gives everyone a voice," said a woman from Earth's resistance. They all nodded. It wouldn't be easy. Trust was fragile. Wounds were fresh. But they had a chance, a real chance to create peace. And they weren't going to waste it. Above Earth, the sky was busy. New ships moved between planets carrying food, medicine, tools. Human pilots flew alongside alien ones. Messages in dozens of languages echoed across radio waves. It wasn't an empire. It was a network. A beginning. In orbit, one ship floated quietly. Inside, the human pilot who had led the first strike on the Empire's core sat in the cockpit. Her hands rested on the controls, but she wasn't flying. She was thinking. She looked out at the stars. "We were supposed to lose," she said softly. "They had everything, and still, we made them fall." Another voice came through the comm. "You think they'll come back?" She smiled. "They'd better not. But if they do," she looked down at the Earth, "they'll find we're not just survivors anymore." In a distant part of the galaxy, a small alien ship approached Earth's borders. It didn't carry weapons. It carried hope. Inside, a delegation from a species unknown to most sat quietly. They had watched the war from afar, watched Earth rise, watched the Empire fall. Now they came to ask for help, not out of weakness, but trust. Their ship was met by a human escort. As they entered orbit, a message was sent. "Welcome. We've been expecting you." On the ground, a girl watched the ship arrive from a hilltop. She wasn't a soldier. She had never seen the front lines, but she had felt the war, lived through the fear. Now, she felt something new. Pride. Her grandfather stood beside her, a former fighter. His eyes were tired, but peaceful. "Is it over?" she asked. He shook his head gently. "No, the fighting's done. But the real work starts now." She looked up again. "We won." He smiled. "No, we changed." "That's even better." In a memorial garden, names were carved into stone: humans, aliens, fighters, dreamers. No statues of heroes, no generals on pedestals. Just names. Because the war had no one face. It belonged to all of them. And now, so did the future. On the edge of the galaxy, a signal traveled faster than light. A simple message, sent across old Empire beacons and human satellites. From Earth to all free worlds, we are not perfect, but we believe in choice, we believe in growth, and we believe the stars are for everyone. If you seek peace, come find us. People listened, some in silence, some with tears. And some, for the first time in their lives, with hope. Because if humans, flawed, wild, creative humans, could stand up to the greatest power in the galaxy and win, then maybe anything was possible.